Hi, how are you today? We now come to a podcast which greatly complements the one on leadership. This is about vision. It's about passion. It's about intention. It's about setting the true agenda for the firm for years. If you ever think about the great firms that exist today, ask yourself this. Presumably, in the year in which they started, there were many other firms started. What is it that made those firms so distinctively superior? I think there's roughly three things. Number one, the founders had some type of inspiring vision, some way of looking at the business world which was at variance with the established or conventional view, and it was inspiring. They also had passionate, supporting drive. My goodness, did they give it energy to get the business going. And they also had either a strategy or strategies to deliver their vision. The relationships between these elements is roughly as follows, where we have at the apex, the vision, intention, mission. These sorts of thoughts are long run, many years, maybe even decades, and they may never be achieved. They may just remain as aspirations. Next we have the goals, which run for several years. Below that we have objectives. Some people call objectives goals, some people call goals objectives. It doesn't really matter. And then at the lowest level we have targets, which are 1 year or less generally. I want to look at each of these issues in the following sequence. First of all, vision, then intention, then mission, and finally, goals. Looking at vision. Here are 5 firms, and let's look at the top 3, Red Hat, Lulu, and PayPal. Each of those firms was founded by visionary people who took a view on the business which was totally at variance with the conventional view at the time, and they've been hugely successful. The other two, Virgin and CRH, have taken quite pedestrian products, but their vision has been concerned with how the products or the services were delivered, branding and things like that. Rather than go through them, you'll probably learn a lot more if you go to the websites and check them out. Intention and strategic intent. I think this is fantastic. And it's fantastic because it's free. You can intend to do anything. It doesn't cost you anything. There's some characteristics that intentions have. They're not logical. They may be completely stupid. For example, a firm which has no market share having the intention of being the number one in the world. There's no guarantee that they're going to succeed. The only constraint on them is the imagination of the person formulating the intent. They're usually unwritten. They may just be the private thoughts. And the one thing for sure is this, that in every industry, at some stage, the barons will be displaced by the insurgents. Here is an example of triumphant intention. In 1982, Vodafone was formed, and at the time it was part of the Racal Electronics Group in the United Kingdom and had around 50 employees. In 2009, this was the number one mobile phone company in the world with revenues of 41 billion. They displaced the barons in the telecommunication business. They displaced BT, France Telecom, Deutsche Telekom, who have never achieved the dominance in the mobile phone business that Virgin has. Triumphant intention. Let's look now at mission and mission statement. For many people, the word mission has a religious connotation, and many churches have a thing called the annual mission, where some persuasive preacher comes along and tries to get people to reaffirm their belief in their religion. And you know, for believers, their mission in life is really about preparing for the next life, and all other things should be subservient to that. And the same for mission statements for companies. It should set out the true agenda of the company, and everything should flow from that. Let's have a look at two examples of mission statements. The first is McDonald's, and the second is Vodafone. And I'll not read McDonald's, you can read it yourselves. It's really quite long in relation to Vodafone, and Vodafone is so simple. Our mission is to be the world leader in an interconnected world. Which is correct? Which is better? What way should your company be? Well, it all depends. I don't think there's a particularly correct way to do it, but they should address these sorts of audiences. They should address the shareholders, the managers, other employees, outside stakeholders, and of course, competitors. Many companies have an official mission statement, and there's an unofficial one, and which is correct. Let me give you an example to which most of you will relate. Airport restaurants frequently have an official mission statement, which is something like this quite often. Our mission is to provide quality food, value for money, and superior service provided by our expert, well-trained staff. My experiences are totally at variance with that. This is the sort of food that I have often seen in restaurants which have mission statements like that. So the question is, which is the appropriate, or which is the correct one, the official or the unofficial? The unofficial, is not always correct, nor is the official. You can decide which is correct by the amount of resources which the firm puts into its official mission statement. Here's a practical approach that I have used with a number of firms, and I find it very good actually. It's the Ashridge mission model, and it states that a mission statement should contain the following things: why the company exists, its purpose, the values that it has, what it believes in, what its strategy is, what its competitive position is, and what are its distinctive competences, and finally, the behaviours. These are the policies and behaviours underpinning the strategy and values. I think this is a terrific way, if you're wishing to develop a new mission statement, a terrific way to look at it. Let's now look at goals. The goals with which most of us would be familiar are family goals for children, where caring parents will frequently have goals such as, I hope my child fits in, I hope my child achieves the grades, I hope my child is picked for the team. They're generally not written down, but they're certainly thought about. And they're really aspirations, and they become measured realities as the time span gets shorter. They're picking the team next week. Let's see how my child has done. In terms of companies, goals come from two main sources. One is internal, that is internal to the company, and the other is external. And the sources of internal goals are the firm itself, the shareholders or the owner, the senior managers, and external ones would include competitors, external stakeholders, and of course the environment. These are the sort of typical goals that would prevail in an SBU type firm, where we have goals at the corporate level, the SBU level, and the departmental level. And the timescale decreases as we go down from corporate to departmental, and the risk decreases as well. Naturally, we are most interested in goals at the SBU level. It's really very difficult to change intent, mission and goals by a large amount. If you are in an incremental industry where change is very gradual, there'll be incremental changes in the goals, and that's great for stability. But in today's era, where discontinuity is the war cry, there's great problems indeed in changing these core values of the company. And in order to get some techniques for doing this, I recommend you look at chapter 15. Once again, almost all the credits are due to Apple. And finally, it just remains for me to thank you for listening, and to hope that you enjoyed it, and to hope that you will listen to some more. Thank you, and goodbye.